what advice do you have for people who are partying considering the rising temperatures?
Right. So let's consider, I guess I'm going to take this from a Kadooment Day standpoint, right? So the first thing to do is to prepare for the jump up. That does not happen on the morning of Kadooment. So 24, 48 hours before you start your hydration, try to make sure you're drinking lots of fluids. It's not a good idea to be drinking lots of alcohol before Kadooment Day, because then you start the day dehydrated, right? So make sure you're drinking lots of fluid. Make sure also that you're wearing comfortable footwear that's going to protect you, and because the roads are also going to be hot. If possible, if it's not part of your costume, or if you just have it available, wear some kind of broad hat so that you can shade some of the sun from coming directly in. Of course, wearing protective eyewear, so dark shades, so that and with UV protection for your eyes, because they can also get damaged. Some people might choose, some revelers have done so in the past, walking around with natural tears so that they keep their eyes moist. And there's also, of course, applying sunblock before. Sunblock does not last for the entire day. You have to reapply it. So the manufacturers of these sunblocks, they have on the label the recommended reapplication time. Do not think that you're protected for the entire route. You may have to do a reapplication, right? And remember to pay attention to those areas that you don't immediately see, like behind your thigh that's might be exposed to sunlight in the jump up. And as we've emphasized so many times during the actual jump up, make sure that you're drinking a lot of water. It's very hard to drink too much water, right? Because you're losing it at such a fast rate. If you're going to, one good rule, and I know that I have a few friends that use this rule, if you're going to have an alcoholic drink, which I'm sure many of our listeners will do, make sure that you space that with at least three small bottles of water, so that you can at least top up on your fluid. Then don't go back to back to back. And beer, as cool as it may taste, if it's a cold beer, does not count as rehydrating, right? Because it does contain alcohol and it's going to dehydrate you over time. So you can't substitute water with beer.
How promoters can protect their revelers? You mentioned cooling stations and
yeah. So cooling stations, water stations. Some promoters are actually quite clever in that the high intensity on stage isn't maintained throughout. So there are gaps where you get like a slow soca mix where the revelers can kind of cool down. Performers may actually encourage, or DJs may encourage people at certain points to go to the bar and make sure you get some water, stay hydrated. Some people in their performance throw water in the audience. That kind of encourages people to, or reminds some revelers or partygoers to continue their hydration. More importantly, or most importantly, is if you do feel sick, because sometimes it's very easy to ignore that intense feeling of lethargy that comes along with dehydration. It's time to stop. Don't try. There is no shame in stopping the part, in you stopping your partying to just stop and rehydrate, because pushing yourself more could cause you to need more urgent rehydration, which will involve going to hospital and having a drip up, and that's what you're trying to avoid, right? So some people can actually pull back from that by making sure that they're continuing to drink. And I know it's annoying having to use the restroom a lot when you're out partying, but if you're not using the restroom, you're probably dehydrated.